I'm Nicholas Garnett, and I live in Miami Beach. Some of the stupid things I've done on a motorcycle are riding a motorcycle and not realizing how stupid riding a motorcycle can be. I mean, I've done everything wrong. And I've also considered myself a really safe driver. But the thing I learned is that I've also been lucky. Some of the things I've done on a motorcycle are driving drunk, stoned, jacked up on coke and other pharmaceuticals, driven too fast, driven without a helmet, driven down windy roads at the edge of my ability and then a little bit beyond that. Should I stop there?
Two nondescript white guys wearing jeans and white polo shirts stood outside my South Beach condominium. They exuded the detached, casual authority I associated with cops. Unit 12, said the heavyset one. I pointed up to Esmeen's unit, the one with the windows cranked wide open and the curtains pulled back on this warm, sunny Sunday. Esmeen is a polite and affable Jamaican woman with gentle eyes. She and I had exchanged pleasantries. Once, I brought her a piece of mail that had been delivered to me by mistake. She invited me in. The only picture in her living room was one of her seated next to her son, taken on the day he graduated from Harvard Law. They had the same eyes. I let the men into the courtyard. I wondered what a couple of plainclothes cops might want with Esmeen, but didn't dwell on it. I was in a hurry to get to my girlfriend's house for dinner. I'd made it halfway up the block when I heard Esmeen's wail. The hairs on my arm rose in a response that, like the cry, felt more animal than they did human. When I arrived at my girlfriend's house, I sat at the corner of her bed and told her what I had heard. My girlfriend is a doctor. She is also a mother. She said, her son is dead. Turns out that Esmeen's son had been out on a motorcycle ride with his buddies. His friends saw him round a sharp corner, lock up his brakes, and careen off the road. Esmeen's son pushed himself to the limit and then just passed it. How do I know? Because I've ridden a motorcycle since I was 15 years old. I used to pride myself on never having been in an accident, on being a good, safe rider. But over the course of nearly 40 years, I did plenty of stupid things. Rode tipsy, stoned, jacked on coke, rode without a helmet, hurtled down twisting mountain roads, blasted down stretches of highway at 120 miles an hour, knifed through stalled lanes of traffic, pushed myself right to the limit. You drive a Volvo to minimize danger and stay alive. You ride a motorcycle because the danger makes you feel alive. A few summers ago, I rode from Miami to my mother's memorial service in Washington, D.C. Like most mothers, mine hated the idea of her son riding a motorcycle. I made it 100 miles before a broken clutch cable, a $20 part, derailed my entire trip. Was my mother trying to tell me something? Undeterred, the next year I rode from Miami to Woodstock, New York, and back, 2,500 miles without a single problem, not even a close call. I returned feeling healthy, strong, invincible. A few weeks later, on a cloudless afternoon, in the parking lot of a shopping center where I'd stopped for lunch, I rounded a corner and was confronted by a Range Rover. I tapped my front brake harder than I intended. The front tire slid. I tumbled across the asphalt, landing hard on my right shoulder and knee. The motorcycle skidded behind me in a screech of grinding metal and plastic. I sprung up and ran over to the bike. It lay on its side like a wounded animal. The engine still ran dutifully. Coolant dripped on the pavement like chartreuse blood. I lifted the bike with all my strength, got it halfway up before I lost my grip. Two girls emerged from the Range Rover. I must have looked crazy, cursing like a Hell's Angel, my jeans shredded like a tattered battle flag, blood streaming from my knee. In heavy Russian accents, the girls asked me if I needed help. They were slender as fawns, had flowing chestnut hair, false eyelashes, bangles, and spindly high heels. I muttered something dismissive and bent down to try again. Next thing I knew, they were next to me, lifting. I'll say this about skinny Russian party girls. They retain a surprising amount of their hearty beat-picking heritage. In a second, the bike was upright. Insurance paid for the damage to the motorcycle, and my injuries, some road rash and a banged-up knee, healed quickly. But the real damage wasn't superficial. I'd just ridden thousands of miles through rainstorms and twisty, gravel-strewn mountain roads, over interstates clogged with aggressive truckers, and careless drivers who give motorcycles the same consideration as a June bug splattered across their windshield, only to crash going 5 miles an hour in a strip mall parking lot. I couldn't shake the feeling that after all these years, I had crossed the line from flirting with death to cheating it. At her son's funeral, Esmeen stood at the podium, a family member on either side to steady her. Her voice was ragged but strong. Her son had been her best friend. They had kept no secrets. Until one day, he showed up riding one. Now, her only child was gone, and with him, her joy. I was an only child, too. A few weeks after the funeral, a man about my age responded to the ad on Craigslist. He'd been looking for a bike just like mine to use on long rides, like I had. As I watched him ride off, winding his way through traffic, I felt a stab of jealousy. But then I looked up at Unit 12, the curtains drawn, the windows shut tight. The next time I saw Esmeen, we hugged. I sold my motorcycle, I said. And then she did something I wasn't sure she would ever do again. Esmeen smiled. Thank you.